2022 November, I started with this problem. This must be the smallest amount of cancer ever found in any person in the world, because it's fine. I was made aware that this was really serious. When I realised how severe things were, I wondered whether I would survive the year. Brian Kinsella, what am I into? Travelling. How I got into travelling. So I was in the police for just over 30 years. I went to work for Age UK for 5 years as just managing their transport. And my wife had had an operation on her spine, and she looked after all our money. And anyway, I came home one day and she said, if we downsize house, I think we can both retire. So we did. And I just thought, wow, not to have to work. I mean, heck, for me, that was just brilliant. We never imagined that we'd be able to afford a motorhome. But anyway, as things kind of went on, we did actually buy a motorhome. We started travelling. We travelled for 8 years across Europe. But I mean, we loved travelling even on the motorbike. We met through motorbikes back in 1974. So we used to travel across Europe on a motorbike. But obviously, when you have family and one thing or another, like we got out on motorbikes, so the motorhome kind of fulfilled our travel needs, and it was seamless. We absolutely loved it. From the age of 17, it was very much motorbikes. Rachel's was motorbikes. Never had any interest in cars. So then it was a travel and it was a motorhome. But then in 2020, she suddenly died. So I sold the motorhome, and we've been together since we were 17. And so that takes some coming to terms with, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with life. I didn't know, did I still want to travel? And if I did want to travel, how? I sold the motorhome because that was our memories. And I suppose returned to what I really knew best, which was motorbikes. And ended up spending quite a bit of money on different motorbikes over the last 4 years. And then obviously I had the cancer that came January last year. On the 27th of September, I had my last chemotherapy after my esophageal cancer and the operation and everything. And I thought, it's been a difficult year. My birthday was on the 30th of September. So I ended up buying my first ever sports car. My life now revolves around motorbikes and sports cars and travel. And that's kind of where I am with that. So Rachel and I met in 1974 in Grange-over-Sands. My parents ran the cafe there, and I was working for them. And I had a 250 Honda motorbike. And before I started work every morning, I used to have a quick spin out on my motorbike. And unbeknown to me, this girl was walking down to the railway station to catch the train to Lancaster Art College. Her dad was the local vicar. I was completely unaware of this. But anyway, her friend one evening took her down to the pub, the Commodore, and I walked in, and a friend Jenny said, "Oh, this is this lad with the motorbike." it was the biggest motorbike in town type of thing. Well, there weren't many motorbikes. Most of them were mopeds, so 250 was quite a big bike, I suppose. Then. So anyway, I walked into the pub, and Rachel was, I think, looking forward to seeing who the rider of this motorbike was. I think she was a bit disappointed when I took my crash helmet off. I had this great big mop of curly hair at the time. Hard to believe, I know. But anyway, so that was it. We kind of, we started going out. She'd only just turned 17. I'm just 6 months older than she was, and that was it. And she ended up getting motorbikes, and that was us together. Obviously, Rachel had died in 2020 with cancer, as it turned out. She'd had breast cancer in 2018. So 2019 was kind of pretty much written off, but we did start travelling again. And we were on our way to Morocco in 2020 when COVID struck. We were actually in France at the time. And after 5 weeks on the outskirts of this village, and we came home, and she started with breathing difficulties, and we thought it was COVID. She had 6 negative COVID tests over a period of 10 weeks. She died in 10 weeks. It transpired that she had cancer was throughout her body. So when I was first diagnosed with it, I kind of thought this must be the smallest amount of cancer ever found in any person in the world, because it's fine. And I just thought, well, just whip it out and let's crack on with life. Well, it wasn't quite as simple as that. It was a very, very difficult time, and I was put into, how can I put it? I was made aware that this was really serious, but they thought I was young enough and fit enough that an operation should be successful. And it was a big operation. It's what they class as a full day's operation. It was robotic assisted. I think it was about 10 hours long. So I went through a very difficult time through the first lot of chemotherapy. When I realised how severe things were, I wondered whether I would survive the year, and I had the most dreadful time for the first month or two. I had physically the most dreadful time. I was surviving on liquid feed. The tumour was so big that I couldn't swallow even water for 5 weeks. I lost 2 stone in 2 weeks. My family and close friends who came to visit me in hospital weren't sure if I was going to come out. And to be honest, it pretty much felt like that. But when I did get out of hospital, even though I wasn't well, I just felt, just need to get just the next day. And I kind of related it to like walking up a dark wooded fell, and you're stumbling on rocks and you're slipping and sliding in the mud, and physically I was sore with all kinds of going through the chemotherapy and the pain and one thing and another. In some senses, looking back on it, seems worse. Actually, going through it, all I was concentrating on was that moment. This hour, get through this next hour, get through the next day. And like I say, going up a wooded fell, just take the next step, just take the next step. A little bit like running a marathon. If you look at the big picture and think, I've got to run 26 miles, it might seem a little bit overpowering. But if you think, well, I just have to take the next step, or I just have to do this mile, and then you just do the next mile, and then you just do the next mile, and then, yeah, so many hours later you finish the marathon. So the first cancer, will I survive the year? And then when you're going through the chemotherapy and everything, and you realise, well, actually, yeah, I think things are going to be all right. I think I am going to survive the year. And then things were looking pretty good, really. I thought, yeah, I mean, they took a lot of my esophagus out. I don't have a stomach as such now. They've pulled that up to join to my esophagus, so I don't have a place to store food as such. So I have to be careful how I eat. I was told that life would never be the same again, and it isn't. I can't sleep lying down, for example. I can't, basically, barely can drink alcohol, but that's not, I can get by without that, obviously. I've got to be careful how I eat, how I process food is different. But I can enjoy life. I can enjoy every day, and I kind of appreciate things that people don't even think about. When you haven't been able to swallow water for 5 weeks, and then you can, it's like, there's not many people who can have a sip of water and go, wow, and I can swallow it. In some ways, the difficulties you go through in your life kind of help you appreciate things that, in some senses, a lot of people don't appreciate. I don't concentrate on the difficulties. I don't think about what I can't do. I think about what I can do. I was told it would take a year to deal with the esophageal cancer, which would take me, well, a year from the operation, which would take me to the end of June this year. But in May this year, I was diagnosed with inoperable cancer. They found it in my they found it in my abdomen, stomach, left hip. Now it's in my right shoulder, where they made the join between my esophagus, what was after my esophagus, and my stomach, which is now kind of been pulled up. And something going on with the lung, but I'm not quite sure what that is. But it's not, at this moment in time, it's not terminal. It's not terminal cancer, it's just they can't operate. So they can deal with it through chemotherapy, which is what I'm going through at the moment. But I just think there's so much to do. There's so, like a sunny day, there's not enough hours in the day to do the things that you want to do when it's a sunny day. It's just, especially in northern England. I watched an interview of a motorcyclist in the Dakar Rally, and they said, why do you put yourself through all this pain to do this event? And he said, well, going through the pain, really, it makes you appreciate the achievement more. And I think that's kind of like where I am with this. Going through the pain and discomfort actually makes me appreciate the non-pain and non-discomfort much more. And yet, people don't even give it a second thought, do they? It's just like, I'm functioning with no pain, no discomfort, and you don't even think about it. And I never used to think about it. But I appreciate everything I have now, probably more than I ever have.